So, first of all, let me tell you a little bit about how I got back to Luna, how I got back to the moon. And let me first say that I've always felt connected to the stars and the moon. As a little girl, I used to ask my mother if I could go outside when it turned dark to sit under the balcony with my cat and just stare at the shimmers in the dark sky and drift away. My mom loves to remind me of this behavior. And the moon specifically has always intrigued me, but I became more conscious of my connection with the moon around 2014. On one night, my emotions were so intense, and I wondered why. I knew that some events enhanced my emotions, but the intensity of it caught me off guard. Either I was super hyped and happy, or super pissed off, or super sad. And I noticed that I had less control over my emotions, especially the negative ones. The next day I told one of my girls, Kiki, and she said it was full moon last night. I thought, oh wow, would that be it? It could be it. Because I've always been open to the idea of these type of connections. And a couple of months after that, it happened again. I had forgotten actually about that first event. And on an evening and night, my emotions were so intense, and I wondered why they were so overwhelming. It was just that, I'm a person who does a lot of self-analyzation, self-observation, and I'm quite conscious about myself, and I just noticed this, and I was like, why is it so intense? And again, I told my girl, and again, she was like, girl, it was full moon again. And then months later, it happened again. And this time I was like, hold up. I'm feeling super intense, super high sensitive, even more than I normally am. Let me check what phase the moon is in. And you guess it was full moon. That time I knew this is real, no deny. The moon influences me. The moon influences us all. And what I found interesting is that all those times I found out afterwards. So it wasn't like I knew it was going to be full moon, which could have made me unconsciously, made me think that it was the moon who was intensifying my emotions. Like, when you expect something to happen, but that wasn't the case. And after this third time, I started to do research on the moon phases. I studied what all the phases teaches and moves us. And I made 2 moon calendars and was actually planning to sell them as prints. I had put this on hold because I found out about the tropic sidereal, I don't know how to pronounce that, and star-based astrology. And this was because I checked out an app in which you see the stars, planets, and signs on the current moment. So you can open the app and point it at the sky and see where the planets actually are on that specific moment. And I saw that the sun was actually in a different sign than astrology tells us. I was so confused and wanted to research that more before I made my new moon calendar, since I wanted to incorporate astrology in it. But that's another story. Then, how I work with her now. To be honest, I haven't been actively working with the moon as much as I used to lately. This is because there have been and still are so many other things occupying my mind, and time concerning my basic foundation that needs to become more steady again. I do, however, still do a free tarot reading here on my channel each new moon. So if you're new to my channel, subscribe and all that to check them out. But in other times, from the moment I just described, when I became more conscious of it and studied it, I would take my time on the new moon and full moon to do inner work I did this or do this or did this. I did this by meditating, tarot reading, and sometimes do rituals and or make altars to connect with and tune into energies, archetypes, deities, or other symbology that helps me focus on what I need to have a happy and healthy life, basically. Then the third topic, and the most important topic in my videos, because I named it Women Move with the Moon. Why is it so important, especially for women, to connect with the moon? Well, it makes us understand ourselves more. Because we women, we move with the moon. We women, we feel different every day. It is in our nature. Though most people, both women and men, have forgotten that. We know that every month we get our periods. We also know that before and during that time we feel different. We are more high sensitive, more emotional, more tired, impatient, moody, not ourselves. But we are, of course, always ourselves. The truth is that every week women are in a different phase. And all our lives, well, I haven't done research on how this works for girls that haven't had their periods yet, but at least from the moment we have our first period, we are in a different phase every week for the rest of our lives. Because I learned that women after their menopause still experience this. So in each cycle for approximately 28 days, same as 1 month, 1 moon, there you already have the links, women go through 2 main phases: the follicular phase and the luteal phase. The cycle starts when we start menstruating, follicular phase. When our uterus lining breaks down, sheds, and we bleed, the ovaries start to prepare and grow a new follicle or egg again too. So letting go the old while simultaneously creating the new. Around the 11th day, the biggest grown follicle or egg releases from the ovary and women ovulate. The egg is ready to be fertilized by sperm from a man. The ovulation, which takes up around a day or 5, is like a bridge between the 2 main phases, because it starts in the follicular phase and moves into the luteal phase. The luteal phase is the phase where the follicle prepares for either a pregnancy if fertilized, or breaking down again when not being fertilized. And between the menstruation and the ovulation is also a stage, which is more like a neutral stage, because, we've been shedding the old, we've been preparing the new, but in that phase the follicle is growing. And so a monthly cycle, a moon cycle. The moon has her phases, women have their phases. If we overlap these 2 cycles, we will see that they are connected. So first there's dark moon. If you search for moon phases, some places they don't really acknowledge the dark moon. They call it the new moon, but there's a difference. I keep saying this, there's a difference between the dark moon and the new moon, because the dark moon is the opposite of the full moon. So there's no light reflected. Well, at least we can see that from Earth. There's no light reflected from the moon. And the next day, it's the new moon. It's the first line of light reflected that we see. So dark moon, you can see as death. The egg is not fertilized, and it's being broken down and shed by the body. We bleed. We let go of the past. We mourn. And at the same time, our body is preparing and creating a new egg, where new life can be created. We create a new idea and move towards that in the new month. Then there's the first quarter. The egg has been created and is growing, but hasn't gotten to its full potential, optimal growth yet. And so still needs to grow. The idea is clear and is developing more. Then there's the full moon. The egg is now in its optimal stage and full. The ovary releases it and the egg appears and moves into the fallopian tubes where they can be fertilized. You can see this as a plant coming together. If they're, they can be fertilized by male sperm and move to the uterus where they nest and grow a baby. So, start of manifesting an idea project. And then there's the last quarter. If fertilized, now the actual manifestation can happen. The baby is being formed. The idea project is being formed. And most times there have been no fertilizing and our body prepares to shed it again. And most people think that women are grumpy during our periods. But most of the time it is during PMS, premenstruation syndrome. During the latter part of the luteal phase, right before the menstruation. If you think about it, our body has been working hard to shed the old. So the whole month, our body has been working hard to shed the old, focus on the new, create an actual egg that makes life possible. And then the other part did not show up. We did all this for nothing. All this energy for nothing. And people wonder why we are so tired, why we are so pissed off, so emotional. When we start menstruating, we are in a physical pain and the shedding costs us a lot of energy. But at the same time, we also feel a release because we are shedding the past and feel enthusiastic and hopeful for the future. Because that is what we are creating, another egg. The moon phases and women's phases are connected. I have been starting menstruating on dark moon for a while now. And if you aren't, don't worry. Look, we live in a society that does not acknowledge this. It does not acknowledge this. We live in a society that is not cyclical. We are expected to feel the same every day, which is not natural. When we feel weak, it is because for some reason it takes us more energy to do our tasks. And we feel bad about not being able to do it like we do normally. But that normally is just a part of the cycle. And feeling tired is also a part of that cycle. We have been ignoring the fact that our bodies are spending so much energy on creating and shedding. During those moments, we should take other tasks in life more easy. But we don't. Because we think we'll look weak if we slow down. Nobody sees how hard we are actually working. And I mean inside the body. A lot of people are grossed out by the fact that we bleed every month. And we are here going through it all by ourselves, not sharing what we feel. Most women have forgotten what our cycles actually do, except for the bleeding part, because we cannot deny that, can we? So the moon phases are reminders for us, where we are in our monthly cycle. Looking at how much light is being reflected on the moon each night gives us an opportunity to truly connect with our inside, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Women move with the moon. We are going through these phases in the dark. Well, I want to acknowledge the light, the phases that we can't see. It is extremely important that we learn about ourselves and that we teach our men. I highly recommend to do research on these phases of our menstrual cycle and the moon phases. In this way, you can learn about yourself, understand yourself more, and change your life pattern so that you can regulate your energy better. also so that you won't feel guilty anymore when you feel like you cannot do your tasks. If most women don't notice anymore, it is no wonder that our men don't know it at all. Tell your man and tell your male co-workers. I work with men only most of the time. And I started to tell them in advance, look, I am PMSing or menstruating. And I feel this and that way. Just so you know. I'll do my best to stay cheerful and do my work, but if you catch me being a bit short-tempered or needing to take it easy or having more difficulties with lifting heavy things, you know why. And I don't do this every month, but when I feel like I have a heavy PMS, I do. And they always respond respectfully because I simply tell them what's up. And if you're also going to do this, don't say you're sorry. Simply state what's up. It doesn't have to be a whole long explanation. Just tell them what's up. Because I simply do that. I simply tell them what's up. And, it is our nature. It is what makes life possible. Like that, let that sink in. It is part of the thing that makes life possible. And it needs to come to the surface and into the consciousness of us all again. It needs to be acknowledged and respected, and preferably honored and carried. Look at the sky at night. Do this throughout the month a couple of times. Track your menstrual cycle. So the best way to start is when you start menstruating. Check what phase the moon is in then and go from there. You can even start a moon womb diary and reflect in that what phase the moon is in, what phase you are in, and how you feel physically, mentally, and spiritually. You'll notice that your cycles will become more in tune and healthy. You are a wonderful woman. I love our wombs and our wisdom, because these are connected as the womb is a portal from universe to earth. That's another deeper layer. Maybe I'll talk about that in another video. Thank you very much for watching my video. Of course, I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe to my channel, and I see you in the next video. Bye.